Did your Joy-Con controller just lose its rumble mid-swing? That was the shocked question whispered among countless new owners of the Nintendo Switch 2, now finding themselves in the midst of a bizarre phenomenon. The very feature that once sparked so much excitement, quieter yet more powerful HD rumble, occasionally vanishing right in the heat of gameplay. One moment, you are gliding through a boss battle, your Joy-Con 2 humming gleefully in your hands, and the next, it is as silent as a dormant phone on airplane mode. What in the world is going on with the new hybrid console that promised an even more immersive experience than its successor? Today, we are here to unravel it all, from the surprising new settings that might be causing this issue to the real reasons behind spontaneous rumble shutoffs. And along the way, we will be exploring whether Nintendo's extra precautions might be overshadowing the console's best new improvements. But first, let us set the stage properly. The Nintendo Switch 2 officially hit store shelves on June 5, 2025, with an original manufacturer's suggested retail price of $449.99. Ever since its long-awaited announcement, fans were eager to see if it could surpass the original Switch that launched in 2017. With a brand new set of Joy-Con 2 controllers that boasted quieter but supposedly stronger haptic feedback, this was going to be a game changer, especially for those who adore immersive rumble in intense action titles. So, what happened? Where did that hype go? And how did we arrive at these mysterious reliability hiccups everyone is buzzing about? In this in-depth exploration, we will delve into three major discussion points: the strange auto-shutoff phenomenon, the speculated reasons behind it, and other noteworthy hardware issues that might be overshadowing this console's bright future. Up front, let us address the most pressing question haunting new owners. Why does the Joy-Con 2 decide to shut down its rumble feature during extended play sessions? According to multiple first-hand reports circulating online, it can happen under different circumstances. Some people claim it fails after a little more than 1 hour, others estimate around 30 minutes. And a fraction of players even find themselves confronted by deafening silence after only 20 minutes of continuous gaming. The console apparently delivers a polite but puzzling warning: Joy-Con rumble turned off due to prolonged use. That is enough to raise eyebrows. Players have begun posting screenshots of this notification on community forums, unleashing wave after wave of speculation. You see, rumble is not just about random vibrations. It is about tactile immersion. Whether you are drifting around corners in Mario Kart World or braving the menacing landscapes of The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, haptic feedback can be the difference between feeling a pulse-pounding thrill or simply pressing buttons. The original Switch introduced HD rumble with a flourish, especially showcased in playful mini-games that let you feel ice cubes rattling inside a glass. This new iteration, the Switch 2, promised something even better: a rumored synergy of low-noise motors and improved intensity, all intended to land you deeper in the action. So, do these abrupt silent episodes pose a threat to everything owners were genuinely excited for? Or is it just one small hiccup along Nintendo's continued quest for innovation? Today, we are digging to find out. By the way, if any part of this story so far has you nodding in recognition, or if you find the details so fascinating that you think the world should know, this is a perfect moment to show your support. Drop us a friendly thumbs up if you are enjoying the deep dive so far. It is always encouraging for us, and it helps highlight these community-driven investigations. Moving on, let us talk about the essential question: who discovered this problem first? Reddit appears to be ground zero for a cluster of posts describing these occurrences. A user by the alias of WonderfulGuava1533 posted a screenshot capturing the moment when their brand new Switch 2 automatically switched off Joy-Con rumble halfway through an extended Tears of the Kingdom session. At first, they thought it was a fluke, maybe some overlooked setting or a battery-saving measure, but then it happened again, and again. Soon enough, they realized something deeper was going on. It started after about 1 hour and a half, they wrote. Then, after repeated sessions, the cutoff time shortened to as little as 20 minutes. Naturally, that caused people to connect the dots. Requests for help flooded comment sections, and before long, others chimed in. Me too. This happened while playing Split Fiction on the go. Or, I got that pop-up last night during the Wind Waker on Nintendo Switch Online. So what could be behind this? Some owners suspect it is a thermal safeguard. The improved haptics, while quieter and more refined, could be generating more heat within the Joy-Cons than the older variant. If the vibrations become so repetitive or intense that the small motors risk overheating, the console's firmware might decide to switch them off automatically to prevent damage or meltdown. Others point to health considerations, such as hand-arm vibration syndrome, a real medical concern involving numbness in your extremities after prolonged exposure to strong vibrations. Suppose you have ever spent hours operating industrial machinery or even using a robust video game controller. You might have experienced that buzzing in your hands long after you set it down. Could Nintendo be taking an ultra-cautious approach by shutting down the rumble to protect your wrists and nerves, even at the cost of minor inconvenience? This question remains the crux of the debate. On one hand, people appreciate the thought that the Switch 2's cutting-edge technology might be actively looking out for their well-being. On the other, it is not exactly thrilling to watch your brand-new hardware enforce limitations before you have even had a chance to decide for yourself. Picture the scene. You are in the final showdown of a boss fight, heart pumping at full speed, and suddenly that awesome sense of collision, impact, and tension vanishes from your Joy-Cons, leaving your experience oddly silent, visually intense, sure, but missing that tactile dimension. Understandably, this has upset a swath of gamers who prize immersion above all else. Now, let us shift focus to a separate but equally important subject, the new Switch 2's settings menu. Advertised as a game-changer by Nintendo, the settings are loaded with subtle changes that can drastically shape your gaming life. It is not just about typical toggles for volume or backlight brightness. Several new features revolve around power management, from the advanced sleep mode that saves battery by analyzing your usage patterns, to a handful of protective measures that approach user well-being in ways we have not fully seen from earlier Nintendo consoles. Some players hail these as forward-thinking additions, particularly for parents who worry about younger kids overexerting themselves on a console. Others wonder whether the system's paternal oversight has gone a bit too far. Consider also that Joy-Con drift, the dreaded phenomenon of analog sticks registering movements even when left untouched, has not magically disappeared with this new piece of hardware. Despite Nintendo's attempts to refine the design, reports indicate that some Joy-Con 2 controllers still suffer from drifting issues, albeit at a lower rate, and presumably with somewhat sturdier internal components. The question now is, are we dealing with a brand that is being hyper-vigilant about avoiding new controversies like drift lawsuits and user injuries, or is it simply the consequence of improved sensors that need more advanced safety throttling? If you talk to a certain subset of the Nintendo community, you will hear arguments on both sides. Where some see thoughtful improvements and a desire to protect us from repetitive strain, others see heavy-handed paternalism that robs us of the control we want over our devices. But do not close this tab just yet, because the Joy-Con rumble concern is not the only hardware anomaly swirling around. Another red flag has surfaced: swelling Switch 2 batteries. Yes, you heard that correctly. Some early adopters claim to have noticed battery bulges in their brand new consoles. While it is definitely not widespread, the concern is significant enough that Nintendo has reportedly been looking into the matter. The mere mention of a swollen battery is enough to send shivers down any electronics enthusiast's spine, conjuring images of phone manufacturers grappling with battery-related meltdowns. Combine these reported battery issues with the Joy-Con rumble fiasco, and it can be difficult for the casual observer not to wonder if these early models were indeed tested thoroughly enough prior to release. None of this, of course, entirely overshadows the bright side. Numerous owners are beaming about the Switch 2's ability to run beloved titles in crisp 1080p when handheld and up to 4K when docked, offering a dazzling modern flair to favorite Nintendo franchises. The mere notion of playing The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, or Tears of the Kingdom with advanced graphical fidelity has re-energized fans who wanted their handheld gaming to catch up to the more robust experiences on other platforms. So, if you are the type of player who dreams of exploring vast fantasy realms, collecting every last hidden treasure, and battling unstoppable creatures in complete immersion, the promise of 4K docked visuals and an enhanced Joy-Con is undeniable. The question is whether those benefits manage to outweigh potential inconveniences like forced rumble cutoffs. Let us also touch upon where Nintendo might be headed with all of this. The brand's approach to user experience regularly stands out in the modern gaming space. After all, Nintendo is the company that famously introduced motion controls to a mainstream audience with the Nintendo Wii, and later gave us the Joy-Con's original HD rumble, which some fans described as magical. Over the decades, it has proven it is not afraid to experiment, sometimes pushing boundaries that others never even realized existed. Could this new rumble shutdown phenomenon be a hint of something else on the horizon? Some new safety standard or a grander health and safety initiative tied into the Switch 2's operating system? Or maybe it is just an early glitch that will be patched out after enough players complain? According to self-proclaimed hardware tinkerers, the Joy-Con 2 motors are indeed engineered to produce a more forceful yet quieter vibration than the older generation. In short bursts, this is no big deal. However, an extended half-day gaming marathon might cause heat levels to spike if the console is not carefully monitoring all the internal processes. That leads to these speculation threads, where certain members of the community have popped open their Joy-Cons, though purely for curiosity's sake, and noticed more robust mechanical components, plus additional insulation around them. These partial teardowns raise questions about whether the Joy-Cons are truly meant for the type of high-intensity usage a small but dedicated slice of gamers demands, especially when discussing rumble during intense combos or repeated boss attempts. Let us pivot to the broader context. The Nintendo Switch 2 is no mere iteration. Everyone remembers how the original Switch introduced a truly hybrid console design, bridging the gap between big-screen gaming and the cherished portability that keeps you glued to titles like Splatoon, Pokémon, or Zelda, whether you are on the bus or in your living room. The Switch 2 takes that unique concept to new places with more robust internal storage, 256 gigabytes right out of the box, and the continued presence of microSD support for further expansion. The console's sleek dock is newly designed with improved ventilation, meant to keep cooling efficient and stable while you enjoy your games on the big screen in up to 4K. Meanwhile, for online connectivity, you still have a slightly upgraded Wi-Fi capability, ensuring stable downloads from the Nintendo eShop. This forward momentum largely cements the Switch 2's status as one of the most versatile devices Nintendo has ever produced. But let us circle back to the taboo question. Does this fancy new technology have a potential flaw that might overshadow that versatility? To get an even bigger picture, we need to consider the user experience from more than one angle. Some say that beyond the immediate frustration of having rumble disabled mid-session, the console's notifications and the underlying safety triggers could lead to a broader conversation about how technology polices our usage. In a world where we already have smartphone apps telling us to stand up or walk around every hour, is Nintendo simply joining the chorus of big tech companies instituting paternal reminders for the sake of well-being? And if so, is that something we should criticize or appreciate? Another angle is whether Nintendo might eventually offer a firmware toggle for advanced users who want to override these cutoffs and assume the risks themselves. Perhaps you are a competitive gamer who thrives on constant haptic feedback, or you want to speedrun The Wind Waker with full immersion. Should that be your choice to make? Or is it safer to let the console decide for you? Especially if the direct cause is indeed mechanical stress that could potentially degrade your controllers over time, or even lead to battery complications. On top of that, one must not ignore how Joy-Con drift controversies from the first Switch might have shaped Nintendo's approach for the second. Possibly, the brand is intentionally erring on the side of caution, deciding that negative feedback around rumble auto-shutoff is less severe than potential lawsuits or repair costs for thousands of broken Joy-Cons down the line. We do not have official statements on the matter yet, but historically, the Big N always tries to be discreet about hardware slip-ups, typically addressing them quietly or through incremental updates, rather than with large public announcements. As you can see, the deeper you dig, the more intriguing layers unfold. So, let us take a brief moment to reflect. If you are finding this discussion valuable and are enjoying these behind-the-scenes glimpses, consider subscribing so you do not miss our future deep dives into the lesser-known mechanics behind your favorite gaming consoles. It is one of the best ways to keep track of developments on issues like Joy-Con drift, potential battery swelling, and more. One interesting aspect that you might not have considered yet is the new motion-based mechanics in certain titles. Splatoon, for instance, has always relied heavily on motion aiming and subtle controller feedback to amplify its competitive edge. With a more advanced HD rumble, you could, in theory, detect slight changes in movement feedback while swimming through the ink or blasting an opponent. But if your Switch 2 decides, halfway through an online match, to quietly shut down Rumble for your own good, or the Joy-Con's protection, could that hamper your ability to make those perfect reflexive decisions? That alone might be enough for hardcore fans to demand some sort of advanced user override, or at least an adjustable threshold. Meanwhile, from a developer's perspective, how does one plan or balance game design around uncertain Rumble availability? Imagine meticulously script writing a tense action cutscene in your upcoming Switch 2 title, expecting players to feel each dramatic blow or heavy footstep, only for the console to forcibly silence the Joy-Cons just as the action peaks. Suddenly, the emotional impact collapses. That is another dimension to consider. Game developers might either need to build user interface prompts that detect if Rumble is still enabled, or rely less on haptic feedback for key storyline moments. Over time, if this phenomenon persists, it could reshape the way Switch 2 games are created, pushing them to rely more on visual cues than on tactile ones. Before we spiral too deeply into concerns that might or might not pan out, let us remember that we are dealing with a brand new console. Historically, the earliest adopters face a higher chance of encountering bugs, hardware quirks, or even design oversights that get addressed in subsequent revisions. If rumors hold any measure of truth, Nintendo is currently listening intently to user feedback, observing patterns, and quietly monitoring just how frequently the auto-shutoff triggers. Threads on social media and official Nintendo support posts might feed into internal discussions, culminating in a future firmware patch. Perhaps the next update will add a Rumble safety timer setting, or reduce the sensitivity of the cutoff threshold. Meanwhile, do keep in mind that the Switch 2 remains a remarkable piece of technology. Many players report smooth experiences, praising the console's refined operating system and user interface, which sports an overall more intuitive design than the original. From efficient operating system updates to user-friendly parental controls, the device aims to please a diverse audience. From casual gamers picking up a Joy-Con 2 for a quick round of Mario Kart World, to fervent fans losing themselves in The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Another bit of nuance, some players claim the Joy-Con Rumble only shuts off in handheld mode, not when the console is docked. This might suggest that the system's main CPU or other internal monitors can handle temperature dispersion more effectively when docked, or that the Joy-Cons themselves draw slightly different pull or generate less heat when used in docked mode. It is a puzzle, and until Nintendo addresses it directly, speculation will keep swirling. Still, the question at the forefront is how Nintendo will respond. Will they confirm the swirling rumor that it is indeed a thermal safeguard, or will they cite purely ergonomic reasons about preventing hand-arm vibration syndrome? Despite the chatter, no official statement has yet emerged from their public relations team. Perhaps they are gathering enough data to deliver a well-rounded statement that includes solutions or clarifications. We have seen them address prior controversies, from Joy-Con drift to scratched docks, usually in very measured language. So, any official mention of a precautionary measure that quiets the Joy-Cons might read as, "We strive to keep your hardware safe and functional, and we are exploring user-adjustable options in future updates." Regardless, as with any new platform, the success of the Switch 2 will hinge on how well it can balance the demands of performance, safety, and fun. The idea of a brand that jumps to protect us from ourselves might feel comforting to some and alienating to others. Some will never notice these auto shutoffs, maybe because they do not rely heavily on Rumble, or do not play for long intervals. Others, especially those who sink large blocks of time into a single game, might see repeated disruptions. It all comes down to personal gaming style, frequency of usage, and even the environment you are playing in. Hotter ambient temperatures could amplify the conditions that trigger a thermal cutoff. Where do we land then, in this labyrinth of speculation and early user experiences? For now, patience is the best virtue. The console has only been out since June 5, 2025, and the trickle of day one feedback is still forming a bigger picture. Could it be that a simple software update will fix most of these issues? Or is it a deeper hardware phenomenon that owners will need to adapt to? We are not certain yet, but the conversation alone underscores the dynamic world of console launches. Each new wave brings fresh excitement, along with a dash of chaos. So here we are, at the threshold of clarity, caught between hope and uncertainty, marveling at the Switch 2's improved visuals, newfound storage capacity, and imaginative design philosophy, while also grappling with the occasional random switch-off of that oh-so-immersive Joy-Con rumble. If the Switch line has taught us anything, it is that breakthroughs and blemishes often arrive hand in hand, forging an unpredictable tapestry that only time, and possibly a firmware patch or two, can mend or refine. And with that, we thank you for joining us on this deep dive into one of the most intriguing hardware mysteries of Nintendo's newest console. Remember, keep your eyes peeled for any official news coming from the brand, especially if you are among those who see your Joy-Con 2's rumble spontaneously tap out. You never know what announcement could be around the corner, clarifying the official story behind these protective measures. For now, stay alert, enjoy your games, and always remember to keep an eye out for any unusual pop-up messages that might appear on your Switch 2 screen. If you found our investigative odyssey informative or entertaining, or if the swirl of facts, theories, and speculation lit a spark of curiosity, then please consider giving this video a like or sharing it with a friend who also loves dissecting hardware quirks. Such small gestures help us continue bringing you more deep dives and timely updates. May your Joy-Cons rumble happily ever after, or at least until Nintendo decides they need a brief nap.